another week of What's for Dinner. I'm really excited to share these meals with you guys this week because they were so yummy. But I just wanted to let you guys know, if you ever have any meal ideas for me or any, family recipes, I'd love to hear them down below in the comments. So always feel free to share any family recipes you guys have. I might make them over here at my channel because sometimes I just run out of dinner ideas myself. But if you are new here, I'd love to have you over at my channel. So go ahead and subscribe down below the video. But let's get cooking some What's for Dinner. To kick this week off, we made these taco stuffed shells. To begin, I have about a pound of ground beef right here. I'm just going to be breaking it up. This is pretty lean ground beef. It is 85/15, and I'm just going to be adding in about a teaspoon of this taco seasoning mix to it, and you're just going to stir it all together and cook it all the way through. While that meat was cooking, I am just going to be adding in my jumbo shells to my large pot of boiling water. I did use about 13 jumbo shells, just to let you guys know. So now that our ground beef is cooked, I did drain out all of the grease from it, and now I'm going to be adding in about a tablespoon of this taco seasoning mix, along with about a cup of some mild salsa. You could use any type of salsa you guys prefer. We just prefer this paste salsa in our home. And then you're also going to be adding in about 4 ounces of cream cheese. I did soften my cream cheese in the microwave just for a little bit. That's why it looks a little funny. It's just because I do like to keep my cream cheese in the freezer until I need it, just so it doesn't go bad. So you're just going to stir this all together and let that cream cheese melt down. Now let's start assembling our shells. So to begin, I just have my casserole dish out, and then I also have a 10-ounce can of red chili enchilada sauce. I just poured half of that can in my casserole dish right here, and I just spread it out as even as possible. And then to begin assembling, so I just have my cookie scoop, and I'm putting about a scoop of that taco mixture in each of the shells, and then aligning them in my casserole dish. Now that we're through assembling our shells, I just got the remainder of our enchilada sauce and I put it right on top of those shells just like that. And then on top of that, I have 2 cups of mild cheddar cheese, and I'm going to sprinkle that all over these shells, and then I'm going to toss it in the oven. Here's my plate all plated up. I just served it alongside of some pinto beans and some cauliflower rice with a little bit of cherry tomatoes and green onions on top. This was so good and definitely one of our favorite meals out of the entire week. For this night's dinner, we made some grilled salmon along with some Greek orzo with lemon and herbs. So to begin, I am starting with the Greek orzo. To my saucepan, I just drizzled about a tablespoon of some oil in there along with my onion. This is just a white onion I diced up. And then I'm adding in a few garlic cloves once that onion is nice and translucent. Now that our garlic is nice and fragrant, we're going to start seasoning this up with all of our herbs. So the first thing I am adding is a teaspoon of dried dill along with about a teaspoon of dried oregano, and then a fourth a teaspoon of salt, and then a fourth a teaspoon of pepper. So I did want to mention, if you guys don't like any of the seasonings that we just added in, you could add less or more depending on your guys' preference. Then you're going to stir all together, and then you're going to add in your cup of orzo. Then you're going to stir that orzo all together so all the spices get up all in your orzo. Now that that's all stirred together, you're going to be adding in your 2.5 cups of broth. I added chicken broth, but you could easily add vegetable broth if that's what you prefer. And then I'm going to be squeezing in my 1 lemon at this point. Now I'm going to let this come up to a simmer and put the lid on for about 10 minutes until that orzo gets cooked through. Now to begin with the salmon, I'm just brushing a little bit of some olive oil on each side of these salmon fillets. This is just 3 salmon fillets. I got these at Costco. They do individually wrap their salmon there. And then I'm going to be sprinkling on some of this garlic salt. This is my favorite garlic salt ever to use with recipes. And seriously, this is it. This is all I do. I just do it on both sides, and then I put it on the barbecue grill. I found this is my favorite way of cooking salmon on the grill. I just think it's so simple, but yet so flavorful. But here's my husband and baby grilling out for us. Here we are, all plated up. This turned out so good. I just served it alongside of a side salad and a little bit of tartar sauce to dip that fish in. This was so delicious, and you just really can't go wrong with some good old salmon. For this nice dinner, we are making some creamy Tuscan chicken pasta. Let's get this one started. So to begin, I have my saucepan out, and I'm just drizzling a little bit of this avocado oil on it. And then I'm going to be putting my chicken breast down there. This is just 1 chicken breast that I sliced thinly in half, just because I like to do my chicken breast like that. I think they cook better and a little bit more even. So I'm just sprinkling this with a little bit of paprika, salt, and pepper, and cooking it all the way through. Once your chicken reaches the internal temperature of 165 degrees, you're just going to pull it off and set it on a separate plate and wrap that with aluminum foil so it stays warm. So now let's begin on the sauce. Back over to that same saucepan, I'm just adding a little bit more avocado oil along with my chopped up white onion. This recipe would also go great with a red bell pepper, and then also some mushrooms would go amazing in this. I just didn't have any mushroom or bell pepper on hand, so now I'm adding in my 3 cloves of garlic once that onion is translucent. Now that our garlic is fragrant, I'm going to be adding in my 4 ounces of sun-dried tomatoes. The original recipe actually called for an 8.5 ounce jar of sun-dried tomatoes. I just thought that was way too much, so I only added 4 ounces. So now I'm adding in about a teaspoon of Italian seasoning and stirring it all together to combine. Now I'm going to be adding in my 3/4 cup of chicken broth along with my 1.5 cups of some heavy cream. Once you add those together, you're just going to stir it to combine, and you're going to bring it up to a simmer. I brought it up to a simmer for about 5 minutes, and you're just going to want it to thicken up just a little bit in that time being. Now that it has thickened up just the way I like it, I'm just going to be adding in my 3/4 cup of Parmesan cheese, followed by my 3 cups of spinach. I'm just going to let that spinach wilt down. Once my spinach is wilted the way I like it to be, I'm going to add in our chicken. I just chop that chicken up a little bit just so it gets warmed through in the sauce, and then you will be golden and ready to eat. Here is my plate all plated up. I just served it on top of a bed of fettuccine noodles. I only used about a half a box of fettuccine noodles. This recipe was so good, and I honestly feel like I could eat it once or twice a week. It is really that good. I just served it alongside of a super simple side salad. For this nice dinner, we made some baked barbecue pork chops alongside of some yellow potatoes. So to begin, I'm starting with the yellow potatoes. I'm just chopping them up into about 1-inch pieces. On a cookie sheet lined with parchment paper, I just tossed those potatoes right on there, and I'm just drizzling it with a little bit of avocado oil. You could use any type of oil you guys prefer. And then to season it up, I'm just using this McCormick Smokehouse Maple Seasoning. I did get this seasoning from Smith's, but I'm pretty sure you could also find it at Walmart. I really do like this seasoning on chicken and meats as well, but I think it goes really good with potatoes. But I'm just also seasoning it with this ranch seasoning. Of course, you can't go wrong with ranch seasoning, and then I'm just tossing it in the oven. Halfway through baking, I pulled those potatoes out of the oven and I moved them all to one side of the cookie sheet. And now I'm going to be putting my pork chops right on top of that cookie sheet along with the potatoes. And I did season these pork chops with some paprika and salt and pepper on each side. And then you're going to put it back in the oven to bake. Just bake it depending on how thick your pork chops are. My pork chops only took about 20 more minutes of baking. Here these are out of the oven and totally cooked through. I just took the potatoes out into a separate bowl and set it aside. And then for the pork chops, I just moved them to the center of the baking dish just like that. And then you're going to put some barbecue sauce on each side. I'm just using this Great Value barbecue sauce, but you could use any type of barbecue sauce you guys prefer, but I do recommend this Great Value barbecue sauce. I do think it is good. Then you're going to just put it back in the oven under the broiler for about a minute so that barbecue sauce warms through. Here's my plate all plated up. This meal was good. It wasn't great. It wasn't my favorite meal out of the entire week. I think the pork chops lacked in flavor just a little tiny bit, but it was still good. I served the potatoes alongside of this chicken dipping sauce from Walmart. For this night's dinner, we made this skillet, Tex Mex, and zucchini. So we're going to start by chopping up 1 white onion and 2 zucchinis into smaller pieces. Over to my saucepan, we're just going to oil it with a little bit of oil, and then we're going to be adding in our white onion, and we're going to let that saute just for a little bit. Once the onion becomes tender, you're just going to be squeezing in your garlic cloves, and you're going to be adding in your chopped chicken breast. You could add however much chicken your family prefers, but I just used 1 small chicken breast because I do have a smaller family right now. And now you're going to be seasoning it. I'm just adding in a half a teaspoon of some cumin along with a little bit of some salt and pepper, and you're just going to stir this all together and let that chicken get all the way cooked through. Now that everything is cooked through, we're going to be adding in our diced up zucchinis along with our drained and rinsed can of corn and can of black beans. Then after that, you're going to be adding in about a 14-ounce can of diced tomatoes. Make sure this is not drained. You want all the juice of the tomatoes that you could get. And then you're going to be adding in about a tablespoon of taco seasoning mix. I just didn't think that was enough, so I actually added in about 2 tablespoons of that. Stir it all together so the seasoning gets incorporated with all those ingredients. Then you're going to put the lid on and let it simmer for about 10 to 15 minutes until those little zucchinis get nice and tender. Here it is all cooked through and yummy, so I just gave it a good stir and then I added about 2 cups of some sharp cheddar cheese on top. This step is definitely optional. If you're not a cheese fan, you definitely could just skip this step, but then I just let that cheese melt down with the lid on. Here's my plate all plated up. I just served it on top with some guacamole, some sour cream, and some cherry tomatoes and iceberg lettuce, and some cilantro flakes for color. This was such a delicious meal, and we will be making it again soon. We're making some one-pot creamy tomato tortellini soup, and this is our meatless meal out of the week. So I'm just adding some oil, and then I'm getting this 1 onion sauteed in my big pot right here. If you do have a Dutch oven, you could use your Dutch oven at this point. Once that is translucent, you're just going to be squeezing in your garlic right now. To season this up, I'm using about a half a teaspoon of dried rosemary along with about a half a teaspoon of dried oregano, and then about a half a teaspoon of salt along with a 1/4 teaspoon of pepper. And then for the chicken stock, you're going to be adding in 4 cups of that right now. Once that's stirred all together, you're going to be adding in your 2 14.5-ounce cans of diced tomatoes in tomato juice, along with your 15-ounce can of tomato sauce. Next, you'll be adding in your 1/2 cup of heavy cream, and then your 4 fresh basil leaves for some added flavor. You're just going to mix everything together and then let it come up to a simmer for about 20 minutes. Here we are about 20 minutes later, and now it is time to add your tortellini. So I'm just adding that in right now, followed by my 1/2 cup of Parmesan cheese. I thought 1 or 2 of you guys might be interested in seeing how I make my no yeast dinner rolls. So to my mixing bowl right here, I'm just adding in a cup of my milk, followed by a teaspoon of my baking powder, and then you're going to be adding in about a cup of flour. Next, you'll be adding in some salt. This original recipe calls for about a teaspoon of salt, but since I wanted it a little bit garlicky, I'm just adding in my garlic salt. And then the last thing you're going to do is add 2 tablespoons of mayo and then give it a good mix. I just wanted to add some cheese to these rolls just because I really like cheese. So I added in about 1/4 cup of cheese and then gave it a good stir. Next, I just pulled out my muffin tin and then I just scooped these into my muffin tin. This makes about 5 rolls. So if you have a larger family, definitely make more, just depending on your family size. Here is everything all cooked through. This tortellini soup comes out delicious every single time. I've been making this soup for a little while now and my family really loves it. I just served it alongside of a side salad and these rolls do come out good every time. They're not my favorite rolls ever, but they're super delicious for a quick, easy, no yeast roll recipe. My husband graduated from college this past week and I'm so proud of him. He did amazing. So I just got him some Texas Roadhouse takeout as a little treat. So I just got some steak and so did he. I got fried pickles just, you know, as a treat, some rolls. This was so good and my baby just had some normal baby food, but this was definitely a good treat for the end of the week and I am so proud of him for actually graduating. And just like that, that was a wrap of this week's What's for Dinner. I hope you guys all enjoyed it and got a little bit of some meal inspiration out of it. I post one of these videos every single Sunday, so if you are new here, I'd love to have you over at my channel, so go ahead and subscribe down below the video. But I'll see you guys in next Sunday's What's for Dinner. Bye for now.